Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about University of East London and how it is connected to the local population. Yes, Professor Joughin, you were talking about it, that how well connected you are with the local population and the multinational companies that are operating in this area.
Yes, I think the connections with Canary Wharf are great, but also the connections with all of our partner institutions, including schools and colleges, but also local charities and local small businesses. So we are far stronger always by working in partnership with other institutions. And we encourage our students to work on projects that are in partnership with other institutions. So for instance, at the moment we're working in partnership with BT Sport and West Ham United to look at Asian football. Big Asian football scene in East London, as you know. We're exploring why there's such a big Asian football community, but then there aren't many footballers going through into the mainstream of the professional ranks.
In the league.
In the league. So West Ham are interested in that, and actually the idea came from BT Sport. So we're doing a project around that, sort of researching why that might be with our staff and students, and then we'll produce a report at the end of it. So many of our projects are actually embedded around things like that. You know, why for instance, another thing that we're involved in at the moment is why more employers in London don't pay the living wage to their staff, which is very important to us as a university. We pay our staff a living wage, and we now have our staff and students campaigning for a living wage zone in Newham, and we're working in partnership with Newham, the Borough Council, on that. And that's, again, it's a great project because the students have to put the business case together and then go out to local employers and convince them and say, well, this is why you should be paying the living wage. And many of our students from social sciences are interested in those types of issues. Another way in which we're connected with our community is that we have a pro bono law clinic, which is a free law clinic for anybody to come into, and that's our law students working with staff and with local legal practitioners to offer free legal advice to the people of East London. And we're very busy because legal aid has now more or less disappeared, so word of mouth goes out there. And for our students it's great because they get a chance to meet a client and give them advice. Of course they're there with legal practitioners, so they learn. And it's within, you know, that framework. But those are many ways in which we work with the local community and in the local community to deliver something different.
Yes. University of East London has been there since 1992, and you have been employing, you said that you have 19,000 students?
Yes, I mean, at the moment we've got around 19,000.
Two campuses and several sites. See, how many staff members do you have, teaching, academic and?
Well, altogether we have around 1,700 full-time staff, both academic and support staff, but we also have people working on fixed term and shorter contracts. So we probably have about 2,000 staff at any one time, yeah, I would say.
Right. This video that we are going to show.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's it about?
It's really just to give a flavour, really, of what UEL does, both at university level, but also in other respects as well. It's about the fact that we're an extraordinary university in an extraordinary place, because I think we are. It's about being connected to the local community, and it's also about us being authentic. And I think we're authentic about being committed to social mobility and social justice. So maybe you'll see some of that reflected in the film, but it creates and strikes a mood of the place of UEL within its immediate community, really.
One thing I wanted to ask you, I forgot to see that, was being somebody interested in linguistics. What sort of languages you offer, courses in languages?
Well, we don't have a big program in modern foreign languages, although at the moment we're looking at starting Mandarin and Chinese language, and it is something we're looking at. And I met with a group of our students yesterday, or the other week actually, 122 of them on one program, and they'd done a poll amongst themselves, Guess how many languages those 122 students spoke?
Probably 120.
Well, 122 students, and they had 68 different
68.
languages and dialects between them. So that gives you a flavour of it.
Almost
50%. It's amazing. Yes, I think, you know, the modern foreign languages we should be looking at. Many of our students have this proficiency. Many of them have 3 or 4 languages. And actually, sometimes we have to point it out to them. This is a great asset. It's a great asset for people in terms of their employment. So, you know, again, Canary Wharf would be interested in somebody who can speak 4 or 5 languages already.
Yeah, because I asked at this part because every now and then, see, the focus of the world shifts from east to west, south to north.
Yeah, that's true.
And right now everything is Chinese, it's made in China.
Well, and I think, you know, also in Southeast Asia generally, I mean, there's a huge amount going on in Bangladesh and India and elsewhere. I mean, you know, it's fantastic. And I think, you know, UEL itself, I always say, is a diaspora. Because many students who came to us returned to the places that they came to us from. Now, 30, 40 years on, you know, they're business leaders, they're in governments and various other things. So that alumni, which is truly global, is fantastic for us. So there's a real local, global dimension to UEL. And I call it the UEL diaspora. In the same way that most of the people who support Manchester United don't actually live in Manchester, many of the people who support UEL don't actually live in East London. They live all over the world.
Many of the people who support Manchester United, they live far away, thousands of miles. They've never ever seen Manchester.
And UEL is a diaspora in that respect as well.
Great. I was looking at the pictures of some of the distinguished or well-known personalities that have graduated from your university.
We've had many honorary doctorates and people we've given honorary doctorates to. Yes, that's true.
This newly elected MP Rupa Haq and one of the an actress from Bollywood, Poonam.
Yeah, we
Kapoor.
gave honorary doctorate there as well. That was a fantastic event. And also you'll be aware perhaps that Lord Noon is our Chancellor.
Yes.
He's a very well-respected and
businessman,
famous businessman who was once called the Curry King of England. I think he's been a fantastic Chancellor for us. He's very generous, and our students really absolutely love Lord Noon, and he has sponsored our Noon scholarships. So many of our students now travel on Noon scholarships all over the world now. So fantastic.
Briefly, Professor Joughin, what sort of research facilities UEL offer?
Well, we have many different sorts of research facilities. So we have very advanced labs in engineering and in bioscience. In psychology, we have immersive labs where you can actually do very interesting things in 3D and digital that I don't quite understand. And so we have great facilities, and we also have many research institutes and centres. The Institute of Health and Human Development, which is very well established and led on the Well London project. And for us, in many respects, the East of London is a living lab in itself because of the diversity of the population, because of the different ethnic groups. It's a fantastic place to actually do research, whether you're in public health or you're a social science person. It's a great living lab for your research.
Great. I can't resist the temptation of having a Shakespeare scholar and not requesting him to recite something from the bard.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah. You know, really.
It's not a question of to be or not to be.
To be or not to be, that is the question. I think for me, Shakespeare is something that, you know, is always to hand. And when I used to teach Shakespeare on a regular basis, it wasn't the length of the speeches, because many times you could often have a whole seminar just about 2 lines from Shakespeare. And I think the interesting thing, as we started off by saying, is that Shakespeare can be interpreted in so many different ways, so many different layers of meaning in Shakespeare, and so many different ways in which different cultures adapt and appropriate Shakespeare in different sorts of media. So for me, the most interesting productions of Shakespeare are those that combine the indigenous tradition with Shakespeare and put their own spin and their own take on Shakespeare. So I think Shakespeare in translation is the most interesting thing, the way in which it keeps getting transformed by the way in which it's translated into different cultures.
Yes, it's very interesting. I mean, I was reading Hindi, and to be or not to be.
Yeah. Well, for somebody who's interested in philosophy, you see, that's the basic question of ontology.
Yes.
That what does it mean to be? Well, being, existence. So even in a line like to be or not to be, it sort of says it all, really.
Yes. Yeah. One can say a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
You too.
In fine, I would like you to, if you want to, say something special to our young people who are watching your program today.
Well, look, I'm delighted to have had this opportunity to speak to you and to reach this audience and to say I hope that you consider, whatever age you are, not just young people, we have lots of mature students as well. Many of them come from East London and many of them come from other places, but we would love to have more and more students coming. We have hundreds of students of Bangladeshi origin, but we can have more students of Bangladeshi origin.
The more the better.
The more the better, and you'd find a welcome at UEL. It's a place that has many different sorts of programs at many. And I think the important thing is at many different levels. So it doesn't really matter where you are on that educational journey. We can probably find a way of offering you access to higher education. So I would urge you to get in touch.
Thank you.
And don't be shy about it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for being with us. I hope you have enjoyed the show as much as we have. We'll see each other again. In the meantime, a very blissful and happy Ramadan. In the meantime, take care.